Hello, everyone. Welcome to Grid Live Wrap Up. Joe Samriego here, along with Adam Lemmeries, Ben Schneider, Joshua Birch, Edward Hunter from Formula E Zone, and Kobe Lambert from the Podium Finish. We invite everyone to participate in the chat room. We have a lot of racing to discuss about, including World Rally Championship, NASCAR, MotoGP, and IndyCar. But first, we're going to start off with Formula E and their wild championship race in Berlin. And Josh with me, of course. We saw essentially a crazy race where we had 14 drivers coming into the race with the championship hope. We saw Mitch Evans starting third. Looked like he was going to be the big favorite. But before you know it, we saw 3 out of the top 5 in points out before a full lap of green was completed. Mitch Evans on the start line didn't go. He was out of the race when Eduardo Montoya collided with him. Nowhere to go. First red flag. Then something broke on Jake Dennis's vehicle as it was entering turn 1, locked up, rubbed up against the wall. He was out, and we hadn't even completed a lap yet under green. Nobody was ahead of Nyck de Vries at this point when it came to the points championship. And from there on, it was essentially Nyck needing to work his way to the front just to score points, but he wasn't under pressure because he didn't have anybody in the points ahead of him. He did that. He is the first world champion of the ABB Formula E world champion. And as he does this, we hear that Mercedes, they win the team championship. However, this morning, news from Autosport Motorsports that Mercedes could be the third manufacturer on their way out after BMW and Audi. Starting with you, Ed, thoughts on Nyck de Vries' championship and the potential that if Mercedes announced they're out, along with the potential de Vries leaving?
Well, Joe, I'm very glad you asked me about that because obviously it's the big story, Mercedes leaving. But first off, I think full marks to Nyck de Vries. He'd done really all the hard work earlier in the season. The key thing that really got his championship back under control was those 2 second places in the 2 races in London. He didn't really need to score any points here to win the championship, but he was able to sneak home 4 anyway in a bit of a harem scared. There were 2 moments really that I think really showed de Vries' quality in this race in Berlin, the final race of the season. There was the big crash at the beginning between Evans and Mortara that you mentioned, Joe. De Vries was right behind Mortara in that he was the first on the scene, went right to the inside. There was about a cigarette paper in between de Vries and the wall and about a rat's tail in between de Vries and the wreckage of Mortara's car. He did actually hit the wheel arch as it fell off the Venturi. So yeah, and then de Vries had that moment where he was free wide with his not only his teammate on the inside, but Lotter sandwiched in between the 2 Mercedes and just had to back out to narrowly avoid contact. I think Van Dorn did just hit Lotter and the wheel arch fell off the Porsche. But yeah, 2 moments where, and then towards the end, de Vries was just really backing off on the last lap, which is why Sam Bird got him. But yeah, he'd done enough and deservedly won the championship. We won 2 races earlier in the season, and his pace has been great. Formula E Zone, when we did our top 10 rookies of last season, he was, I think, easily the best rookie of last year. And in fact, he was even in our top 5 drivers at like midpoint last year during the pandemic. So not surprising to see him do so well this season. As for Mercedes pulling out, it does seem surreal after winning both championships that Mercedes are thinking about, well, we're going to pull out at the end of next season. Then it seems a bit surreal, but of course it's the Daimler board that's really behind this decision, and it's all to do with money. It's all to do with the exposure that the Mercedes team gets. Obviously it's not going to be as much as Formula One, which has way more eyeballs on it, let's be honest. So the big challenge really for Mercedes is convincing the board to stay on, and I'm sure Toto Wolff is going to be hurriedly making moves behind the scenes. I'm sure you agree with that, Josh.
Absolutely. We were discussing it in the commentary, weren't we? Both about de Vries and the Mercedes situation under the red flag that came out as well. And I've actually, yesterday in the show, I said that, de Vries, in my opinion, he's looked into the championship as well, purely on the basis that he had some good races. The 2 races in Puebla, actually going back, Valencia all the way until New York race 2, he was pretty much pointless, and it was a bad run. And he started the season so strong in Diriyah with pole position, topped the group stage as well, and race victory. And then he immediately fell back, and then won again in Valencia due to that horrible battery save issue that everybody had with FIA taking away the usable energy in the last seconds. But as I came to agree with Ed and actually changed my mind. The 2 second places.
Yes, I convinced you, Josh.
You did, Ed. You did. The 2 second places he had back at London, I thought, actually thinking back, I think I said it at the time as well, and I checked back the commentary that we did and I agreed. It was a great weekend for Nyck de Vries. He did exactly what he needed to do. He was the driver to watch in London. He was constantly going to battles. Race 1 yesterday, no points on the board, of course. It was a very bad qualifying for Mercedes. But today, a combination of luck, a combination of bizarre incidents, which saw the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th people in the championship drop out, which made him the favourite. But he sort of came into it. Do you remember after the 2nd full course yellow? It was all to play for, and de Vries was actually right up there. He was having battles with everybody. He was not letting go of that championship. He wanted to get as high up as possible. He wanted to make sure as much as possible. It was the de Vries we saw on the F2 days. So, yeah, I'm going to say it as well. Fantastic championship. And in order for Nyck de Vries as well, he becomes the first ever Dutch world champion. Eat that, Max Verstappen. He's beat him by about 4.5 months if Verstappen wins the F1 title. And if Mercedes do leave Formula E, as you said, Ed, they get another year in it. So they won't commit because they'll leave before the start of Gen 3, which is, as you said, season 9 or season 8 to go. So they've got another year, but we've both sort of agreed at the end of the commentary, they're going to keep it now. I think they're going to stay. I think it was more of a threat. I think they want to change the balance of power. And you brought up as well, Ed, the McLaren situation. Well, McLaren would be powered by a Mercedes powertrain. So I think that is going to sort of sway them as well in the fact that for Alexander Agag, as you said, they're very much going to be on the phone saying, look, you've just won the title. You're very clearly there. You just come with us. Come with us for the next generation and bring McLaren with us as well.
No,
but
please don't go. Not yet.
Yeah, not yet. Don't go. But isn't it always the bad thing? I mean, we commentate on all these sports. We report on all of these motorsport events throughout the world. No matter where you go, it's always a Mercedes winning both championships.
Mercedes winning both championships. And the final race, Mercedes powertrain, Norman Nato taking that win in essentially the Venturi, but it does have the Mercedes powertrain. So overall, it had to be a pretty good day. And for Venturi, good year overall. Matara finished second in the points. Of course, he wanted to be running, not on the first lap. And of course, both drivers in Venturi getting to win. But this was such a chaotic season. Nyck de Vries, lowest scoring Formula E champion, only 99 points. Most was John-Eric Vergne with 198. Considering everything we saw this year and shaping up for next year, starting with you, Josh, do we anticipate another chaotic championship in the next season? Or could we finally start seeing a team maybe pull out and start to dominate a little bit?
DS Cheetah, I thought, was going that way. They had 3 championships on the bounce, 2 with Vergne, 1 with Da Costa, but they've slipped away a lot this season. Qualifying is strong, and as Ed, I think, is going to say as well, the fact that their race pace has just been all over this year as well. I like that the championship has been less than 100 points. It gives it a lot. And yes, this season has had about 99 problems, but one of them hasn't been the fantastic racing we've had. Constant battles as well. No matter what race you look at, there's always been something to nick at, something to pick, and that's it. That's the race of the year. Oh, hang on a minute. That's the race of the year as well. There's just so much to play for. So I think going forward as well, the only thing that we sort of remains constant with it is this mixed up qualifying that they've got. The drivers don't like the group stages because the track evolution is so different across from qualifying Group 1 to qualifying Group 4. But today, I think, has made a very strong argument because we've seen yesterday it was Da Costa, today it was Evans. Both of them got through from qualifying Group 1. We have no one from Group 2 today, and mainly came in Group 3 and 4. So it's proving it can be done. So this group stage is here to stay. What would we replace it with? A one-lap shootout like the Super Bowl? That just means that the first guy out is going to start at the back anyway. It doesn't change anything. There's no real way that can be fair. So I think this is the great format. And I think next year's championship as well, the last year of these generation of cars as well, it's going to be all-out war. And I think we're going to see much of the same again. And I hope the driver lineup stays the same as well, because we've had... And I want another year like this. I want to go into the last race with literally anybody who can win the title. It's more open. And I've had a lot more fun because we had Mortara and Evans crash on the line. That wiped out 2. Dennis hit the wall. That wiped out another. DaCosta hit the wall. That wiped out another. I like that. You're eliminating them one by one. And it's like, what is it? Where rats in a barrel. You put loads of rats in a barrel as well and seal the lid. And then at the end of it, there's one strong rat that comes out as well at the top. And he's a completely different character. That's what de Vries has done. He's come out as a different character. He's a world champion now. He's got bragging rights over the rest of the field. He's got that much bragging rights, actually. I saw on the gala that's going on round about now, he's currently standing on a table with his teammate, Eduardo Mortara, and also there with Alexandra Gag singing Can You Feel It? Can You Feel It? By the Jackson. So, yeah, not bad at all. And I hope we get another close championship like this next season as well.
Yeah, I agree with Josh, and I've really enjoyed this season on the whole. I think it's been a bit of a peaks and valleys kind of season. We've seen some of the best of Formula E, but also some couple of embarrassing moments. We've seen Formula E at its best and at its worst. And I'm very glad, Joe, that you did take the time to mention Norman Nato, the race winner, of course, let's not forget, taking his first win as a rookie. And I felt so sorry for him because all the attention was, of course, on Nyck de Vries, rightfully as, you know, the world. I think he's one of the youngest Formula E world champions, as well as the first Dutch FIA world champion. So certainly the youngest Formula E world champion of the 5 we've had so far in the first 7 seasons. Is that correct? Because I think Vern definitely won 2, so it would be 5 so far. Or 6. I don't know. I have to do the maths on that one. But as for next season, in terms of do I think it's going to be this crazy again? Well, they've already talked about changing the qualifying format, which is the big thing. In terms of it's been something that's been so controversial. It seemed that if the problem is if you qualify at the back, then you can't make progress on some of the circuits. And it's the case where if you do well in the championship, you're punished for having the best car. And Mercedes have been the victim of it at points. We also saw at the end, it sort of ended up kind of balancing out. They had a really strong final race, which got them just ahead of Jaguar at the end in the Constructors' Championship, which you can see mirroring in the Jaguar shirt. Not entirely happy about that, but that's the way it goes sometimes. So I don't think it's going to be quite so crazy next season, actually. I do think we are going to see more of a kind of natural order emerge, but I still think we're going to see great individual races. And that's something that I'm really excited to see. So, and I'm also really excited to see the young drivers that have done really well this season. Guys like Cassidy, Nato, and Dennis, of course, who nearly won the championship and was cruelly denied by that failure. As we say, the rear tyres just locked up and it all just went wrong for him just after it went so wrong for Mitch Evans and Mortara for similar reasons that weren't really the driver's fault. So I'm really looking forward to next season, them getting another chance. But we'll have to see if it's. I can't imagine it being quite so close, but we might just see 2 or 3 really strong teams all fighting it out for those top positions, and it coming down to the wire again. Hopefully, I believe it will be Berlin again next year, wouldn't it be, Josh? The final few races.
Year today, exactly will be the last race.
Berlin has become, I think, one of the best places for a season finale, just because of last year Formula E Fest. This year, it just seems to start to stand out up there with. Not on the high level as Monaco E Prix, but it's starting to be one of the favorites to look forward to. Now, of course, we did hear some news from motorsports.com. Adam Lemeries shared it with us that essentially Mortara suffered a fractured vertebrae after that first lap crash. Just amazing that he was moving around, walking after that crash with that injury. And, of course, it's not till January we come back for Formula E. So 4-month break, but we still have a lot of questions entering the next season. Edward, Josh, what are some of the big stories and developments you'll be watched for during this off-season?
I think coming into this one as well for the off-season, the big question is, how is Audi's disappearance going to affect the running order of the field? We've got de Grassi possibly out of a drive. He could end up somewhere, but everyone looks like they're locked in as well. Rast is a big loss as well. They will appear in the championship. I think coming into it as well for season 8, the big gap is we've got Venturi finally coming into the road. They've got 2 race winners now. I think it was definitely important that, as Ed was saying in the comms, that Nato won today as well. It's a big ego boost. And looking at it as well, Jaguar, got to improve on this bizarre stopping of the car technology. It affected Bird yesterday. It's affected Evans today. It's happened before in the season as well in some practice sessions. And I don't think it's happened in the race as much, but that's got to come under wraps as well. Bird wants to go for another title, well, a title and another title fight. Verne and Da Costa at Venturi, DSG are going to be up there. Venturi going to be quicker. I think the big question next year is who is the championship rival going to be? Because I think we're going to have a David and Goliath battle brewing next year because so many manufacturers are stepping away. The independents are taking back over. Audi's left, of course. Att doesn't want to come back to that. Andretti is now back as purely Andretti. Hopefully they won't change the liveries to make it even more difficult for the commentators. But I think a David and Goliath battle next year. And looking into it as well, my big question would be, who's going to partner Sebastian Buemi at Nissan? Because we know Roland's going. The rumour is Alexander Albon, but it could be anybody. My pick also, would they risk putting De Grassi in there if Albon gets a call back up to Formula One to go for AlphaTauri? We saw that happen before when Albon was supposed to come in. He got a job at Red Bull. So watch this space over the next 4 months.
Yeah, the Nissan seat is very interesting. What I heard from Jack Giordana today was that it's Daniel Kvyat who is actually the favourite because Albon seems very interested in a move to IndyCar. And he was seen, as we said yesterday, hanging around at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So Kobe's is making the same point as I am in the chat on our end. So exactly, Albon very interested in IndyCars and potentially doing a test with them. We'll have to see how that turns out. He wouldn't be the first F1 convert to IndyCar, but also wouldn't be the first F1 convert to Formula E if he made that choice. And I'm sure Danny Kvyat would be very eager to get the seat, but also Lucas Di Grassi desperate. He said in interviews that he's 90% sure he's going to have a seat for next season. And it looks like the two options he would be considering would be Nissan and Venturi, to be honest. Although with Norman Nato winning today, you would think he's made a pretty good case for a little more of this to come. And he's been, so diligent in the simulator. While he's waiting for Felipe Massa to basically get bored of Formula E, Norman Nato, so he could get promoted. And he's done a really strong job, especially in some races this season where he's really had to get his elbows out and really impressed. The other big story for me is McLaren's big decision. They've signed the option to potentially enter Gen 3 for 2022-2023, whenever that starts. I guess it'll more be closer to 2023, the chances are. But they have to make the decision before the end of the year. So what is Zach Brown going to do? And if they do decide to enter, who's going to be on the books? Because, of course, we just talked about René Rast and Di Grassi potentially being free agents. But there's plenty of drivers in the McLaren stable. Felix Rosenqvist, of course, with lots of Formula E experience, was a really impressive driver for Mahindra in years gone by. So lots of driver changes to do. Speaking of Mahindra, Oliver Rowland moving to Mahindra is going to be very interesting. He had his last race with Nissan today, finished second, couldn't quite get on top of Norman Nato. So I think Oliver Rowland's going to go very well indeed. And those are the stories that I'm going to be watching out for.
Some big stories. And Ed, we do have a question from Amber in the chat room. Will McLaren be a new team or one of the existing teams? I think they're talking about like how Mercedes was essentially HWA before. Do you have any insights on that? She also mentions too, she believes Albon to IndyCar.
Yeah, well, we'll have to see on the Alex Albon situation. That's really down to the teams and Alex himself, really, where he wants to go. But as for McLaren, it definitely sounds like what's being considered at the moment is a factory entry. Because, of course, McLaren couldn't enter during Gen 2 because they're the ones building the batteries. So there will be a bit of a conflict of interest there, which wouldn't be ideal. But they will be able to enter in Gen 3 because Williams are making the battery. Williams Advanced Engineering, of course. Which is a separate company to Williams F1, separate to Jaguar, who use a lot of former advanced engineering employees, I think, essentially. And so McLaren have already entered Extreme E. They've even signed a driver. I believe it's Tanner Faust, who they've signed for the Extreme E lineup. We don't know who the female driver is going to be joining Tanner Faust yet. But I definitely think what's being considered in Formula E is a factory entry, not necessarily a partnership with Andretti as, say, supplying the powertrains. We'll have to see what Andretti does. They've got another season with the old BMW technology because it's not changing for season 8. So a lot of it's going to close up, I think, because a lot of the teams have got the same powertrain, the same hardware, but the software is what's really going to be developed. So watch the space for McLaren. They could partner as a manufacturer, but what's been talked about at the moment sounds like a factory entry to me, and I think it would be really impressive if they did.
And Kobe as well put it in the chat as well that a Van Dorn McLaren Formula E reunion with Mercedes potentially out. That's a possibility.
Well, he's also said Vodafone as well. Oh no, not Vodafone. Van Dorn.
No, Van Dorn. Yeah, I thought it was Vodafone as well. Just for a second, I was thinking, do I have to get my orange T-shirt back out that I had on at Hungary? But I think that's a very interesting call, and I that could be a possibility. If Mercedes do bow out, they could still be a power unit supplier to McLaren for a couple of years until they get theirs developed. They've already got the battery power from Williams, as you say. But that's a possibility. Van Dorn was a very good fit with McLaren, and the only reason he swapped was because they got in Carlos Sainz and Lando Norris, of course, and Alonso went out as well. So I reckon Van Dorn could be over there, but once bitten, twice shy, maybe from the McLaren program. I mean, we do remember, of course, McLaren used to go through a phase where if they had a bad championship, out you go, you kicked out the back door with a bag over your head and sort of shunned down into motorsport. But I think Van Dorn and McLaren as a team up, that's a possibility. Personally, I always thought Van Dorn would have ended up in IndyCar as well, as when it was announced they were going to run Aaron McLaren Schmidt-Peterson, but he chose Mercedes. And also as well, just a reminder, de Vries chose Formula E as well over a drive in Formula One, which I've recently found out as well, because me and Ed had the discussion, it was going to be with Toro Rosso at the time gone by as well. He would have, I think, replaced Brendan Hartley that year, but that's why they had to bring Kvyat back for 19.
Amazing stuff, and definitely was an amazing season of Formula E. And we encourage everyone, especially you're watching the first time and getting new to Formula E, be sure to follow Ed at Formula E Zone. Hey, Jack. Jack was at Berlin all weekend. Definitely very excited for next year. And of course, Nyck de Vries is your essentially 2020, because it goes 2020, 2021. 2020 ABB FIA Formula E World Champion. However, in our in-house grid rating, very interesting. Lucas de Grassi finished ahead of essentially the champion. The big thing was when it came to Lucas de Grassi, 60% of the time he finished in the top 10 compared to 40% of the time Nyck de Vries. Essentially outside of the podium finishes, de Grassi 6 times finished in the top 10, de Vries only twice. That was the big difference, but at the end it is Nyck de Vries, your FIA Formula E World Champion.
Now moving on to NASCAR. For the second consecutive week, we had a NASCAR Cup Series Road-Course race enter Stage 3 with only the 2 stage break cautions. They changed in the final stage as the race at the IMS Road-Course turned upside down and went absolutely bonkers. It was such a chaotic race, and it got even more chaotic when the turn 6 curve came loose, took out multiple cars. William Byron went spinning. Joey Logano slammed hard into a tire barrier, and others were taken out as well, like Daniel Suarez. And this caused the red flag, and also the red flag pole number 21 on the grid ranking Twitter. It was just a really crazy incident. So, Adam, Ben, who's to blame for the current failure? Was it just one of those unique circumstances that just could not be prevented?
Oh boy. I think it could have been just prevented. I mean, like my dad said, it was like you were at an airport watching a NASCAR race with that horizontal curving and also the Dukes of Hazzard. It was, everything was fine until that last few laps, and it became very chaotic, and I know a lot of fans will have multiple reactions. So I believe that they did the right thing in taking out that curve. They should have removed the horizontal curve as well. I think it would have, I think that we wouldn't have had the overtimes like we saw. And I think this is something that NASCAR and the Indianapolis Motor Speedway need to look at in the future. I think they need to take out the horizontal curve and the other curve, and we'll see what happens next year.
Well, let me just say that I'm hardly a construction expert, so I have no idea what went into the construction of the curb, why it was placed there, how it was placed there, how it eventually came undone. So, I'm not sitting up here on my soapbox trying to pretend I can do their jobs, although it was kind of amusing to see Doug Bowles himself out there helping with the cleanup. That provided some comic relief, I think, for a very frustrating situation. Let me just say that I really miss David Hoots. I feel like ever since, he left, race control has had a lot of problems, and I can list them all off here. If you go back to the Bristol dirt race in the truck series this year, sending the trucks out for their heat when the track clearly was not ready and everybody had their windshields completely blocked with dirt and couldn't see anything. Half a lap into the heat race, ended up having to postpone that. You had the Knoxville race on dirt as well from truck series. That track was not prepped very well. That race was not very good. You had a delayed caution in the truck race at Charlotte when Trey Hutchins and Johnny Sauter crashed that I think could have been prevented, or at least made far less severe. In the Cup Series, you had the controversy at Circuit of the Americas with the rain and how race control handled that and ultimately ended the race prematurely. You had not throwing a caution at New Hampshire Motor Speedway just a few weeks ago when it started to rain, and now this today when Martin Truex Jr. spins out and you see debris. I mean, I assume race control has just as much of a viewpoint and just as many angles on what's happening, if not more, than we do watching at home. And we all saw debris going everywhere when Truex spun. I don't know if that was coming from cars or the curb or whatever, but I thought there's no way they're going to hold out here and not throw a caution. That's exactly what they did. And the most predictable thing happened when they came back around and you saw William Byron spin and 7, 8, 10 more cars, however many it was, get destroyed with them. And now you have a multi-million-dollar junkyard in the middle of the Indianapolis Road-Course, and it's just a very embarrassing situation for everybody involved. This was a race that replaced a crown jewel of a NASCAR schedule. And I know, listen, I've been on record saying I didn't feel like the Brickyard 400 felt like a crown jewel anymore when you look at all the empty stands. Obviously, last year was completely empty because of COVID, but even before that, it felt like the race had lost its luster ever since the whole tire debacle in 2008. But it's still a crown jewel race. And when you take a crown jewel off the schedule, the event that you're replacing it with, it has a lot of expectations it has to live up to. And I thought it's very unfortunate because I thought the race today was shaping up to be a pretty good one. I still think Cup cars and NASCAR stock cars and trucks can put on a great show on road courses. But when you have something like this, it becomes a race-defining moment. And this was an opportunity for NASCAR, to really take 2 steps forward. I think they ultimately took about 5 steps back with what happened today. So, I know we've got other stuff to get to. I could keep going, but, it's inexcusable, incompetent, embarrassing. I could keep going with those superlatives, just to see what happened today. It didn't need to happen, and it's totally on NASCAR, in my opinion.
Yeah, and Bang, you listed a whole laundry list of things that have gone wrong this year in NASCAR. And as you were saying, I was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I thought at some point, I'm gonna run out of fingers to count of what happened. It was what's been happening this year in race control. But to say the least, today's race at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Road-Course, like you were saying, I thought the race was shaping up to be pretty good. A lot of great action in stage 1 and 2, and then the bottom just fell out. It wasn't a good look for NASCAR, and days like today, this is why people from other disciplines of motorsports make fun of NASCAR and don't take it seriously. And we do have a comment from a viewer in the chat room. Yeah, from Amber saying, "What if NASCAR decided to call the race after the curb mess?" Amber, to be honest with you, after what we saw today, I think most people would have been okay if NASCAR had called the race, because it just was not pretty at all during that final stretch, and NASCAR did allow a lot to go on before a caution when debris was flying all over the track. Martin Truex Jr. spun. In your opinion, did NASCAR make a mistake by not throwing the yellow?
I mean, is that a trick question or something? I mean, I think I answered it in the last segment. Yes, obviously they should have thrown the yellow there. Definitely made a mistake. And, Adam, to bounce off your point, I guess I'll bring it up here. I saw somebody on Twitter say, I think Robbie Gordon's getting ready to fire up his stadium super truck and head out there because they removed the curb, but they didn't remove the horizontal curb that was acting like a ramp that was launching cars into the air really all weekend. We saw it in the IndyCar race, even with Scott McLaughlin, and obviously the Xfinity race as well with Chris Wright. So, I found it was because it was the most predictable thing ever. I found the clip of Dan Hicks when Tiger Woods forced the playoff in the 2008 U.S. Open, and I took the expect anything different line and put it over the crash in the first overtime segment because, it was just the most predictable thing ever. When they removed the curb and you knew those guys were going to be going too wide through that chicane. And, when I saw McDowell spin out, I was just, I didn't know whether to laugh or cry because everybody knew what was about to happen. We're lucky we didn't get it on the second overtime. Like I said, we should keep going because I could just keep going on for hours about this. But, it's days like today that make me question my passion for a series that I fell in love with 15 years ago. It's just really disheartening to see things like this. And then we wonder why when motorsports fans around the world or at large talk about different disciplines and different series, NASCAR is referred to how it is, because, this is something that is simply unacceptable. And they really need to take a look at trying to prevent it in the future. And I don't know, everybody in race control needs to be fired. I know that might sound harsh, but you can't have stuff like this happen. It's just as simple as that.
I have to completely agree with everything you said overall, Ben. I mean, the race was really nice. And then, like I always said, last few laps, the sky fell out. NASCAR needs to look at, removing the horizontal curb for next year. Because that if that wasn't there, I think it still would have been chaotic, but you wouldn't have cars launching into the air. NASCAR needs to look at this a lot. A lot of fans are probably missing the Brickyard 400 on the oval. I like road course racing just as much as the next guy, but after today, it's going to be interesting to see what NASCAR does for next year.
Yes, it's going to be interesting to see what NASCAR does for next year. And looking at some of the comments on Twitter after the race, David Wilson, who is the president of TRD, who oversees Toyota's racing programs, he's tweeted out that this was not the best example of big time professional auto racing today, and he'll just leave it at that. And he used the hashtag peace out. And Daniel Suarez said that it was embarrassing today, the lack of respect on track from his competitors. He said it's literally like dumb kids driving bumper cars that were supposed to be professionals, and today we showed everything but that. So Daniel Suarez, driver of Trackhouse Racing, looking like he was going to have a great run today, taken out in one of those incidents. He was very frustrated that teams had a lot of mechanical issues on the road courses this year, and to finally have a road course car that's in proper shape, working well, looked like he's going to have a great day, and then taken out in that turn 6 curb mess. Yeah, but I think he certainly has a point there with lack of respect being shown on the racetrack. And after the red and caution, another mess when Michael McDowell hit the turtles, the more intense curve, launched them up in the air, another wreck, another caution, another red. Then an overtime, Chase Briscoe shortcut the track and the grass on the restart in NASCAR overtime. The NASCAR issued a penalty, but Briscoe went on to spin Hamlin, kind of making that move pointless. And Briscoe claimed on the radio after the race that he didn't know about the penalty and that he was just going for his first win and trying to secure a spot in the playoffs. And after all of that craziness, and also Kyle Larson got shoved off the track in the grass on the restart, which took him out of contention. And through all of that chaos, it allowed AJ Allmendinger and Colic Racing to win the Verizon 200 at the Brickyard. And Ben, starting with you, did you predict AJ still in the win at the end? And what's your take on what happened between Hamlin and Briscoe?
Well, my blood pressure was so high from how disillusioned I had become after what we had just seen, that I, wasn't really thinking much of anything. But I did see he was in third place, and I thought to myself, the way this race is going, who knows? There's certainly a path forward for him to be able to win it. And, when Briscoe got the penalty, I figured, okay, well, he's going to finish second to Hamlin. And then, we saw, obviously, Chase Briscoe get together with Denny Hamlin, and, that opened the path for him to take the win. Inspection pending, the way this race went today, I wouldn't count anything out. I'm not going to, even though I'm an Allmendinger fan, I'm going to try to hold my celebration until it's official. Also, I'm not really in a celebratory mood, because I do think, this was a pretty dark day for race control once again in a year where they've had a whole series of dark days. But getting to the Briscoe-Hamlin incident, I've got to admit, I wasn't listening to the scanner. I have no idea. I don't think Chase Briscoe meant to turn Denny Hamlin around. I don't think it was an intentional dump by any means. But I do find it kind of hard to believe that Denny Hamlin knew that he had a penalty coming, but Briscoe himself didn't. So, I don't know if it's just heat of the moment in their post-race interviews, Briscoe's trying to defend himself, or if, he had radio issues or what, but, it's not a great look. It reminded, I think I even saw somebody on Twitter bring this up. It reminded me of the Robbie Gordon, Marcus Ambrose incident at Montreal in 2007 in the Busch Series, when Robbie Gordon restarted much further up than he was supposed to, out of position, and totally punted Marcus Ambrose out of the lead, and Kevin Harvick went on to win the race. It's pretty much exactly what happened today in the Cup Series. So, I think NASCAR is going to have to take a look at this, because, it's not a good look for somebody who has a penalty, who is no longer going to be scored where he's running on the racetrack, to impact who ends up winning the race. That being said, I do want to be fair to Chase Briscoe. I don't know for sure what he knew or what he didn't know in that situation, but it certainly isn't a good look, and it'll be interesting to see what NASCAR does when they take a look at it.
First of all, I do want to say congratulations to AJ Allmendinger on the win. For College Racing, their first ever Cup Series victory. Now AJ is in the playoffs. And regarding the Chase Briscoe Denny Hamlin incident, it's going to be interesting to see down the road what NASCAR has to say. Okay, not in playoffs. Thanks, Joe. Part-time. Oh, thanks also, Ben. I appreciate that. So, it's going to be interesting to see down the road what Chase Briscoe. He should have knew that a penalty was coming after he shortcut turn one, and he should have just backed off and let Denny Hamlin go on and win the race. It's going to be interesting. So it's going to be interesting to see what NASCAR has to say after everything happened at Indianapolis Motor Speedway today.
Yes, and while AJ Allmendinger may not be running for a championship or in the playoffs in the NASCAR Cup Series, it's definitely a huge boost of confidence for College Racing as they're working hard to get ready for the next gen era next year and run full time in the NASCAR Cup Series with Justin Haley in that number 16 car that won today, and also AJ is expected to be in a second chartered NASCAR Cup Series car next year in select races. So definitely really awesome moment for College Racing to get that first cup win as a non-chartered team, which makes it even more special, coming in here and beating the full-time organizations that are here in the cup week in and week out. And the guy who many thought was going to win today, Kyle Larson, finished third, but this still allows him to continue leading the NASCAR grid rating. Denny Hamlin's been dropping down lately with some inconsistency and getting taken out by Chase Briscoe. Didn't do him any favors today. We'll see what happens next Sunday in Michigan. But with 2 races remaining in the regular season, at least Hamlin can say he officially clinched his spot in the playoffs.
And with that, we now switch over to MotoGP, the Austrian Grand Prix, and it was an amazing race. Josh Birch with me, and of course you were calling the race on your channel. Probably one of the most exciting races of the day. And of course, this was the first race of the day because we had also Formula E as well, then NASCAR. But the lead battle we saw between Martin, Pecco Bagnaia, Marc Marquez, Quartararo, hovering around third and fourth. But then once that rain arrived, oh man, we had Mir, Brad Binder. They made it a six-pack battle. But then everyone picked except Brad Binder. He goes out there just slowly trying to maneuver that bike on slick tires in the wet, and he does it. We all know if there was one more lap, Pecco was going to catch him. He was passing everybody on those wet cells. But Joshua, great race, no red flags considering it's Austria. In the second year in a row, ATM wins here. Your thoughts on that race today?
There's a little post-it note in the commentary box just alongside the bus mixer, and it says calm. So if any one of us get a bit over the top or one of us needs to say something, we tap it. And let me tell you something, Megan was tapping that constantly in the last couple of laps. My voice was going ultrasonic at the end of that one. She even stopped at the last lap because everything was going off. We had an interesting start procedure as well. Finally, we had a great start from Jorge Martin. Didn't get the wheelie off the line. And then it started raining. We had the white flags immediately by the time we got to turn 3. And it caught me and Megan by complete surprise. A dry Moto 3, a dry Moto 2, and the rain just came out of nowhere. So the white flag means you're allowed to swap bikes. It's a flag-to-flag race, effectively, which means it won't be a red flag in between for the rain. And then, of course, every now and then the monitor and the box was saying it was light rain at this part of the track. We saw then the white flags with the red X being waved around. And then, as you say, everybody came into the pit lane with 3 laps to go because the rain came down so heavily as well. A flag-to-flag race, as I said, means that you are allowed to come into the pit lane, change bikes, and it removes the need to stop the race. Didn't stop Jorge Martin or Fabio Quartararo trying, coming out of the Vutch curves before into Rindt, which had turned 9. Their hands came up as well. They were desperately trying to stop the race as well, to end it, because they thought it was too bad. And then they came around the last corner, and every one of them came into the pit lane. Marquez came in as well. Bagnaia up there as well. Quartararo, Jorge Martin in there as well. And guess who went through? Aleix Espargaro went through. And then Brad Binder had the lead of the race. And we all thought, oh, okay, he's going to probably go down as well. He's probably going to throw it away. He somehow managed to keep it on. I'm honestly thinking, is he Jesus Christ? He managed to keep it on the tarmac. Now, let's not forget, Austria is a very dangerous circuit in the wet for motorcycle riders. In fact, so much so that last weekend when we predicted thunderstorms, the riders said that they weren't going to race. They were going to boycott it. It started raining now. We saw how treacherous it is with Marquez dropping off at turn 1 in the wet track conditions as well. And we've got Brad Binder out there pushing as well. He ended up 12 seconds ahead of Aleix Espargaro. And he was pushing, setting quick lap times as well. He was 2 seconds faster than anybody else on the track, even those on the wets as well at one point until the last lap when Bagnaia sort of got everything together again. But honestly, he was walking on water. Unbelievable job today from Bagnaia. KTM fantastically winning again at their home circuit. Last year it was Miguel Oliveira winning as well with a last lap maneuver. This year it was Brad Binder with, to put it nicely as well, balls of steel to keep that on the motorcycle as well. A fantastic achievement. And it was all I could do in the commentary box to stop streaking like a dog as well, because honestly, fantastic. We had Marquez crashing out, coming back in, finishing 15th. We had Binder winning it as well. There's just so much to talk about. I don't think I've got over it. And as you say, it was the first race of the day, and it was a great way to kick it off as well. The only good thing is, you say, no red flags.
No red flags. It was just crazy. And for KTM to get that win last year, of course, Miguel Oliveira with Tech 3 got KTM a win on the last lap pass. The excitement level we saw from that team this year, the excitement level, boy, it was just there. And I see our comment, Amber missed the MotoGP race. Definitely try to find it on YouTube or somewhere, because it is something you won't believe. The race, it was just insane. And then, of course, Quartararo, with all this insanity going on around him, comes home in 7th place. Sounds like a bad race, but considering Zarco, the leading title contender, crashes out. We saw Marc Marquez get around him, crashes out. Miller, he was one of the first people to get on the wet bike, nowhere in sight. Despite 7th place finish, does it feel like a win considering how the race went and how everything, especially with his Yamaha Vinales teammate, it all could have been a distraction, but to come home seventh and a bigger points lead, I say that has to almost feel like a win for him.
Oh, definitely, it's going to feel like a win. I completely agree with you there, Joe, because troubled week for Yamaha, and he won bike out there as well for the factory squad, and it was up there, wasn't it? In fact, I think just before the lap they were coming in as well, Quartararo said, okay, it's do or die, and he sent it up the inside of Jorge Martin and Bagnaia and Marquez, 4 abreast into that dangerous turn 3 as well. Me and Beckham were almost hyperventilating in the commentary box. He did run wide as well when Marquez went off the track and lost a couple of positions, but fought his way back up there really well. So absolutely, this is a big, big, big win for them as well, especially with the others sort of dropping away. It's closed up the title fight now, as you can see. Look, 47 points to Mia and Bagnaia is the gap as Quartararo leads 181. That is great news going into the next couple of races. Do you remember what I said a couple of weeks ago on the show as well? If Quartararo doesn't win this title, it's the big own goal as well, because he's got everything there to win it. Speaking of Jack Miller as well, you mentioned, Miller surprised me. I was desperately looking at the timing screen when the rain started to fall on the last couple of laps, thinking, where is he? Why is he? He's down in 17th. How's that happened? The problem was, I think when Rins and Miller came in, the rain wasn't actually as bad. So they heated up their tyres a lot more. They become like chewing gum and get stuck to the track a lot more. So I think their wet tyres were pretty much dead when they got back round. And then Bagnaia, as you pointed out as well, what a run as well. And Jorge Martin coming back. They were 9th and 10th. And honestly, with 3 laps to go, it was a big gamble to change over to the wet tyres as well. It paid off at the last sector as Bagnaia got through onto second place at the last corner as well. Valentino Rossi almost having his 200th podium in the Premier class as well. That got so close, but he was passed by his brother Luca Marini out there as well. Marquez going down on the deck cost him more big time as well, because as me and Megan were talking in the box as well, Marquez, he would, where Bagnaia ended as well, he was 12 seconds off, but Marquez would have been right there at the line to pass Brad Binder. So it would have been a photo finish at the line, but Marquez would have caught him. So he's thrown away a race win. But then he said on his Instagram, I'm here to race in dry conditions. I've got no interest in winning wet races. Yeah, right. He won Germany in mixed conditions. So, yeah, it's been another great day. It's definitely going to feel like a win for Yamaha and Vinales. And if anything, it's more pressure on Carl Crutchlow, who moves over to the Yamaha team for the British Grand Prix, which is very strongly rumoured, has yet to be confirmed, but it's sort of like the worst kept secret in the paddock right now. He's got big pressure because he's going to have to bump up with Vinales. He's going to have to bump up Vinales' teammates as well and help out Quartararo a lot more. But yeah, I think the best way to describe today's race as well, Amber, considering you missed it, imagine a fire eater as well, not only a fire eating in the mouth, but putting up the nose and their ears as well, and every other hole in the mouth, and then just catching fire completely in the last couple of laps as well. It was like a slow burn as well. Everything exploded. Everything fantastic happened as well. And definitely, they've been calling it the race of the century for MotoGP. It was okay. It was fantastic at the end, but the race of the century for me still belongs to that Assen race in 2018 when it was just constantly changes. But this is a very close second. A fantastic end as well to the race. And roll on Silverstone, British Grand Prix, because mixed conditions at Silverstone always comes as well. We're going to have another classic, and this is shaping up to be one of the best seasons we've seen in MotoGP. And I thought last year's was good.
Yeah, last year was really exciting. MotoGP always puts on a good show. One of my favorite races all time has to be when they were at Indianapolis for the old road course. A lot of great racing. And of course, Fabio Quartararo, as you mentioned, leading 47 points over Pecco and essentially Zarco. And then with only 7 races left, it looks really strong. And the big thing when it comes to our ratings for MotoGP, you can see there, essentially it is Juan Mir. His consistency is paying off to where he is up in second place. Now, of course, this is our at-home grid rating. The next race, as you mentioned, for MotoGP will be at Silverstone. Now, here is Kobe and everybody else with some IndyCar coverage.
The NTT IndyCar Series visited the IMS Road-Course for the second time this year. We talked about Alexander Rossi, Colton Herter, and everyone needed Alex Palou to have bad luck yesterday. We literally talked about this yesterday. Will Alex Palou have bad luck? And yes, the bad luck did strike the points leader in the championship with a blown engine, DNF, only collecting a total of 5 points. And especially with these large bumper fills, it's not good for Alex Palou because he receives even less points. If we had your traditional maybe 23, 24 starters and the top 12 in the points are mathematically eligible, and we enter a short oval at Worldwide Technology Raceway at Gateway next weekend. Which driver can gain the most in the championship at Gateway?
I feel like it's got to be Palou's teammate Scott Dixon. And, Dixon obviously had a tough race at Indianapolis this weekend. Speedway hasn't been too kind to him this year. You think of what happened to him at the 500. But, there's something about 7-time champions in motorsports. In NASCAR, you have Petty, Earnhardt, and Johnson. Formula One, you have Hamilton and Schumacher. In American open wheel racing, you have A.J. Foyt. And Scott Dixon now with 6 championships, a veteran of the series. I'm sure he's got to be fired up after a tough weekend here at Indianapolis. There's just something telling me, he's like lurking in the championship fight still. We haven't heard too much from him all season. It's not like he set the world on fire. We've been hearing about Palou versus O'Ward. Something's telling me Dixon is still in this and he could make a serious run at equaling AJ Foyt and getting his 7th championship. And what I believe would be his first time winning back-to-back championships in the IndyCar Series as well.
Absolutely agree with you there, Ben, as well. Never underestimate the old dogs. We remember Helio Castroneves taking the 500 win back in May as well. And I agree, actually. Yeah, Scott Dixon's got a lot to go for. An oval circuit as well. He likes the ovals as well. Remember Texas last year as well. He kicked off a great win there with the Genesis 300. My pick, however, has to go to Pato O'Ward as well, because I think Dixon's going to be so strong going next time out as well. Palou's going to be right back up there as well. We've seen on ovals as well this year, Dixon and Palou like to battle close with each other as well. Even throwing Scott McLaughlin could have a chance at the ovals as well. We remember back at Texas too. But yeah, Pato O'Ward, in order to keep his championship hopes up there as well, he's on 394 to Alexander Palou's 415. But definitely, it could easily slip away. We saw the drama for Palou with an engine failure as well. 21 points is not that much, but yeah, it's still out there. So yeah, O'Ward has to have a good weekend if he wants to break out up front, get ahead of Palou for the first time this season, and just sort of put one hand on the championship and one hand in a clenched fist, ready to punch his way to the title. But yeah, so O'Ward's going to have a good run there. It's unfortunate that I'm not going to see that race live because I'm at Le Mans. But I cannot wait to commentate on it. And I definitely am going to be sat there quaking in this chair as well.
Yes, also next weekend, the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Really looking forward to checking out the twice around the clock French Endurance Classic. And while everyone on this side of the pond is going to be trying to gain ground on Alex Palou, he knows only 3 drivers can take the championship lead away from him at Gateway: Pato O'Ward and Scott Dixon. O'Ward started on the pole yesterday, but he didn't get the victory. Will Power took it away from the young guns, and Will Power is currently 9th in the championship and one of the 4 past champions in the hunt. Do you believe this is where the veterans like the Scott Dixon, Joseph Newgarden, Simon Pagenaud, Will Power can show their experience over the younger drivers who are still gaining experience fighting for a championship in IndyCar competition?
Oh, yeah. And I have to agree with what Ben said about Scott Dixon. Never underestimate him, because I think I have to completely agree with what Ben said about Scott Dixon. And as these last few races, you're going to have the experienced drivers take over and not only poles, but wins. And don't be surprised if you see Scott Dixon win at Gateway. I think he's got a good shot, and I think don't be surprised if you see that Kiwi come up and take the championship away from Alex Palou and Pato O'Ward, because that Kiwi's lurking in the woods, and he's going to be coming on a hunt and I believe he's going to take the championship away. And and join AJ Foyt as a 7-time IndyCar Series champion.
Absolutely. As I was saying, never underestimate the old dogs in there as well. And I think as well with veterans as well, we saw Pagenaud have a bizarre weekend in Indianapolis as well. He was stuck in the midfield quite a lot as well. He was going for some do or die maneuvers as well. So Pagenaud, though, likes ovals. I remember his championship win a couple of years ago as well. It's hard to miss him as well on ovals as well because of that bright yellow car as well. And Megan, who joined me in the box for their race yesterday, always spotted when Pagenaud was on. My pick, though, as well, Will Power very much was my driver coming into the race yesterday. And I was so happy as well because it got me points on the grid rankings board as well, double points as well, moving to the top 10. But yeah, with Will Power taking the win yesterday, it just proves that you can be competitive going as you get older. Dixon going for his 7th title as well. Good one, looking quick. But it's interesting, and I'm very much hoping as well that the older drivers continue to pressure the new young guns as well. I mean, Pato O'Ward as well yesterday saying that we don't deserve to be on the podium. Yesterday wasn't a great race. It wasn't our race. We didn't deserve to be up there. That's a young guy saying that as well. Usually it's the old guy saying that. So it's nice to see that the old dogs can have their day, and definitely they can show their more, I don't want to say experience, because it's more maturity, I want to say as well. That's the word I want to go for, because they can leave each other room while racing as well. They can give you a foot or two as well. And also, when they need, like a good old dog, it can bite hard.
Yeah, well, obviously, I just mentioned not wanting to count Scott Dixon out. I think you definitely have to consider some of Penske's other veterans in that as well. You know, Will Power started his career being a major force to be reckoned with on the road courses. And, you know, if he had any weak spots, it was definitely the ovals. But now we've seen Power evolve into somebody who's won a championship, who's won an Indianapolis 500, who's a threat everywhere the series goes. I think he could very well be a threat at Gateway as well. So I definitely would want people to keep an eye on their veterans, the veterans in the series as we head to Gateway this upcoming weekend.
Yes, definitely. You have to pay attention to the veterans, especially Scott Dixon, because it seems like this is setting up to be a Scott Dixon type of championship season where you think he's out of it, and just like I said, comes back to bite. And I certainly think Scott Dixon can be that driver and get that 7th IndyCar championship. We do have a comment from a viewer in the chat room referring to the previous question we asked. Amber says Pato O'Ward is her pick. Thank you for sharing it. And Edward also said Palou's engine blowing serves him right for predicting him to win. Yesterday. Yes, sometimes pick a winner, really hit or miss. I was getting excited about my pick a winner at the end of the IndyCar race yesterday because I thought I picked Roman Grosjean to win. I thought he was going to get it, but came up just a bit short to Will Power, and also my NASCAR pick a winner. I thought Chase Briscoe was going to pull off the upset until that penalty at the end, and I've never picked a Formula E pick a winner correct yet. So I'm gonna have to work extra hard these upcoming weeks to try to gain ground on Joe at the top of our pick a winner standings. And the 4 drivers in the championship hunt with 0 wins and 0 poles this year, we have Graham Rahal sitting in 6th, Simon Pagenaud in 8th, Takuma Sato, who's rumored to be out of his seat at Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan, racing in 2022, sits 11th, and Alexander Rossi is 12th. Probably not going to happen for Sato and Rossi being so far down. Pagenaud in 8th, probably a long shot too. Can any of these drivers, especially Rahal in 6th, stay in the hunt for the championship without a win or a pole, solely relying on consistency?
We've seen it happen before in motorsport. Consistency does win you championships. Remember last year, of course, in the MotoGP categories, we had that done with Johan Mir. So it's possible. And realistically, if you're being very realistic, you would only count Graham Rahal as a chance to keep in there without 0 wins and 0 poles. So Pagenaud is going to find it very hard. When was the last time we said that Pagenaud hasn't had a pole or a win in a season? It's a very odd year for him over there at Penske. But yeah, I would say the only one who could stay there in any form of championship hope would be Graham Rahal. But I'm expecting, with so little races remaining as well, it's, as I said yesterday in the show, it's going to be a 3-way fight. It's going to be Alex Palou, Pato O'Ward, and Scott Dixon, a 3-way fight. If Newgarden keeps up there, that could be quite quick. But no, I don't think we're going to see Ray Hall, Pagano, Sato, and Rossi completely out of there. They're out of it completely.
Oh, I have to agree with you, Josh. I believe right now it's a 3-horse race between Alex Palou, Pato O'Ward, and Scott Dixon. Graham Rahal, it's going to be interesting to see what happens at Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan Racing next year. We had Christian Longard compete in the race yesterday. He, that was my pick winner. And could he come over here to run IndyCars next year at Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan Racing? It could happen. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens last 4 races of the season. But like I said, it's a 3-horse race between Alex Palou, Pato O'Ward, and Scott Dixon for the 2021 NTT IndyCar season.
Yeah, if we could keep the standings up here for just a second. I think when you look at the top 3, obviously Palou, O'Ward, Dixon, all still in the fight. Somebody like Newgarden or Ericsson, maybe, if the leaders catch some bad breaks like Palou did this weekend, you could see them finding a path forward to a championship. If the question is, can you do it without going out and scoring pole position or winning a race? For guys like Rahal and Herta, I think it's going to take an absolute miracle. Probably going to have to win every race from here on out, and still hope that the championship leaders have some bad luck at the few remaining races we have. Everybody from Pagano on back through Rossi, who's still mathematically eligible. I think that's probably it. I think everybody from Pagano on back is essentially eliminated at this point. It would take, a perfect storm of events to see a path forward for them to win this championship at this point.
It's a very odd situation as well, where we're coming to a late stage in this season with only a couple of races to go. Not one of us, throughout any of the broadcasts, it literally just dawned on me, we haven't yet solely picked a championship backup. No, we haven't picked who this driver's going to win the title. We haven't picked Palou, O'Ward, or Dixon. We've said that we can count them out, but we haven't actually locked in anybody. And I think that is a testament to how close this season could actually still be.
Yes, I totally agree with you, Josh. It's been a really close season in IndyCar racing, and looking at the standings again, in my opinion, the top 5 and up. Yeah, with Ericsson, Newgarden, Dixon, O'Ward, Palou. I think those are the true championship contenders right now. And I didn't really think Marcus Ericsson was going to be a championship contender after his Nashville victory. But look, he's 62 points behind, and that's certainly enough time for him to gain some ground. I saw the comment from Amber there saying that Pato O'Ward is her pick a winner for Gateway, the short oval race this week. So Amber, definitely thank you for sharing the pick a winner. Really early pick, probably an all-time record for someone submitting their pick a winner for the next race. And also with Long Beach being the season finale, there's something we have to keep into consideration. Long Beach, double points. So that's why I think Ericsson, 62 points behind, could certainly have a shot at winning the championship if he doesn't lose any significant amount of points heading into the season finale. And we all remember what a calm Colton Herta said at Barber Motorsports Park after he got out of the car following the lap 1 crash. Everyone is going to have a bad race in the series, and just as it looked like Alex Palou might potentially pull away in the championship, a bad motor spoiled his plans. And here's the grid rating for IndyCar. As you can see, Alex Palou is easily up front over Scott Dixon, Pato O'Ward, Newgarden, and Marcus Ericsson, top 5 in the grid ranking. Gateway, Portland, Laguna Seca, and I just mentioned Long Beach are the only races remaining. And next, here's Joe with some tragic news we received this morning.
World Rally Championship, Ypres Rally, and at Spa-Francorchamps today. So, sadly, it was marred by tragedy. Autosport reporting that Spa-Francorchamps CEO Natalie Mallet was killed in a murder-suicide by her husband. Another woman was found dead as well. The FIA, racers the girls behind the helmet, and many others mourning the loss of a former racer and the CEO of Spa-Francorchamps. We at the Grid Network extend our condolences to her family and everyone impacted by this tragedy. It was at this rally we saw Thierry Neuville won the Ypres Rally. This is his first win of 2021 in the World Rally Championship. He's been consistent all year long, and this is his home country rally. He led essentially a Hyundai 1-2 finish Robin Perra led a Toyota 3-4-5 with OJ being 5th place, and OJ continues to lead the championship in Royal Rally Championship. And really, only the top 7 points are mathematically eligible for the championship. So while IndyCar, Formula E today, those championships have been wide open, Sebastian OJ has been really tight on the competition, just getting wins, consistency, and he is trying to get his 8th championship. Meanwhile, in the grid ranking, he lost his lead today over Shane Van Gisbergen. Shane Van Gisbergen, of course, wasn't racing, but today with that 5th place finish, he just lost just enough points to lose the lead. Kyle Larson moves up to 3rd place, gaining points. Still, Kyle Larson could go up there, maybe contend for the championship. Of course, the only NASCAR driver to win the grid ranking was Martin Truex Jr. in the first year. And here is the full grid ranking. As you can see, the Formula E drivers, especially since no driver has been that dominant, the highest rated one is Lucas di Grassi in 29th place. But definitely, the season's not over. And next weekend, we only have IndyCar and NASCAR. Now, as we're starting to wrap up, it's time for Adam and his one shining moment with everybody.
Thanks, Joe. Now it's time for our grid one shining moment of the weekend. And I'll start with you, Ed. What was your grid one shining moment for this crazy motorsports weekend?
Well, I think I've got two one shining moments. Sorry about that. Two one shining moments, and both of them are Formula E related, unsurprisingly. I would say on track, the one shining moment would have to be today's race. But actually, surprisingly, and you'd be very surprised to hear me say this probably, because we haven't mentioned him so far in the broadcast, was Tom Blomqvist, the Neo 333 driver who qualified in 5th position and finished the race eventually in 10th, getting the final point of the season for Neo 333, a team which has struggled all season, has one of the slowest cars on the ground. I'm sure they won't like hearing me say that, but let's admit it's not the best package out there. And I thought Tom Blomqvist did a superb job. I loved hearing his comments to Jack Giordano in the interview, where he basically said that he'd been struggling in practice, so they just said, right, give me the fastest setup you can. I'm just going to go flat out with it. And he's something a bit more explicit than what I'm going to say, but he said, I just thought to myself, sod it, I'm going to go for it. And he did. It's either going to be brilliant or it's going to be terrible and really slow. And in the end, luckily for him, he did get into Super Bowl and did a brilliant job in the race. My other one shining moment would be, obviously, there's a little bit of last year when we were in Berlin in the 6 races. Unfortunately, there was a tragedy during the construction of Berlin. One of the track workers, a guy called Helder Moreira, unfortunately lost his life in a freak forklift accident. And given that, I mentioned this in the broadcast yesterday, but I think I'll just go over it again, there was like a 15-hour period to rearrange the track to go from the normal layout to the reverse layout, and I thought they did a superb job. The I believe it's RS Project Circuit Construction who've done the work at Formula E since season 1, but there may be other contractor firms in as well, so I thought I'd give a credit to all the construction workers at Formula E and indeed racetracks all around the world building these sort of temporary tracks and doing such a good job with such short turnarounds when safety is paramount, of course. And we haven't seen any repeats of what happened last year, so I think that's been really great to see. And I think my heart goes out to all the workers, and obviously also the sad story from Spa-Francorchamps of Natalie Mallier as well. It was very sad to hear too, so my heart goes out to them too. But also, well done to all the construction workers this season in all series, not just Formula E.
For my one shining moment is also from Formula E. Susie Wolf, what she has done with the Venturini race team, both drivers earning a win. Norman Nato, definitely, he's been really close. He's been fast all year. Getting that win, I think that has to be my one shining moment from Formula E, is seeing Susie Wolf on the podium, and she was bobbing her head during the Monaco national anthem in that podium celebration. So definitely, I think that has to be my shining moment from the weekend.
Well, the easy answer is AJ Allmendinger for Colleague Racing, and I believe it is the first win in the charter era in the NASCAR Cup Series for somebody, and I'm right there with you, Amber, with your one shining moment as well. First win in the Cup Series for a non-chartered team since the charter system came into effect in the 2016 season. And I want to remind everybody, Colleague didn't just purchase one, but they purchased 2 charters for next year with the next gen car in 2022. We know Justin Haley will be driving one of them. I've got a feeling you're going to see AJ Allmendinger back next season on all the road course races, at least for Kaulig, if not maybe some additional races as well. I think he certainly earned it today. A great drive for him and a great moment for a young team in the Cup Series and a young team in general. I think people forget, just how young Kaulig Racing is compared to the big teams that they're going up against, not just in the Cup Series, but the Xfinity Series as well. So unbelievable to see how quickly they've evolved into a team that can come out here and not just compete for Xfinity wins, but also Cup wins as well. So I'll give my one shining moment, not just to AJ Allmendinger, but to everybody at Kaulig Racing.
And my great one shining moment might surprise a lot of people, but it's the 19th place finisher in yesterday's IndyCar race, that 7-time NASCAR Cup Series champion Jimmie Johnson. I think yesterday was a really good race for Jimmie Johnson. That was a race that he really needed. I know transition from stock cars to open wheel competition has been it's been a huge jump for him, and he's had a lot of growing pains that you expect for any rookie. And it's crazy we're calling Jimmie Johnson a rookie at 45 years old, and I know a lot of people have been really hard on Jimmie, wondering why he decided to race an IndyCar. But Jimmie Johnson, knowing how he is, his work ethic is second to none, and it's been really cool watching him put in the work, try to get better, and also this was his second time seeing this course in the IndyCar in racing conditions, and compared to how he did in the month of May till now, I think that was a really solid drive from Jimmie. Although 19th place finish isn't really something that most people will acknowledge, I think Jimmie deserves a lot of credit because he was on pace. He wasn't the slowest, and he even made a few overtakes as well. I believe he went around Max Chilton, Don Kellett, James Hinchcliffe. So that's why I have to tip my hat to Jimmie Johnson. I also want to give a shout out to Kyle Larson for winning the Knoxville Nationals World of Outlaws Sprint Car Crown Jewel last night. I know it was very late. Kyle said he got to Indy at like 3 a.m. and then at 9 a.m. had to be on the track ready to qualify, and still brought home a top 5 finish in the NASCAR Cup Series race at Indy. I know winning that Knoxville Nationals was very special to Kyle Larson. That's like the Indianapolis 500 of dirt racing. And for him to go out there, win that, and race against one of his childhood heroes, Donnie Schatz, for the win, it was a big moment for Young Money.
Just had some news that AJ win is official in the NASCAR race as well for the Verizon 200. That's great news as well. And the chat already blowing up there with celebrations, so I'm sure you'll have a word of that before the end of the night. My one shining moment comes from MotoGP, and I think you can all guess who it is, because it takes 3 things to win a Grand Prix. It takes speed, which is nothing without skill, which is nothing without gut feeling. And let me tell you something, I have never seen a more cautious ride, but I've never seen much a determined ride in my entire life. Brad Binder, tricky conditions out there as well. Absolute horrendous rain coming down as well. Slick tyres as well, with absolutely no grooves in it. Bald tyres as well. Going out there, nearly lost it at turn 3, but managed to make it 4 laps to the end of the race in rain conditions. Brad Binder, you are a star for your 2nd ever race win as well. And Brad Binder winning on slicks in Austria as well was the best moment of the weekend, in my opinion. And I agree with you there, Humperdinck, as well, because what a fantastic race it was. And certainly that might go down when me and Megan do the review of MotoGP at the end of the year. That might go down as my moment of the season, indeed.
I'm last. And, I actually have I've had the MotoGP race on my TV, during this, so all this. But for me, I have to give it to what Kyle Larson did last night in Knoxville. He beat some of the best out there in the world of outlaws. He beat Donnie Schatz, Jack Onchild, who I believe it's going to be his last time ever racing a sprint car at the Knoxville Nationals. He's known as a wild child. He's competed in the world of outlaws for many, many, many years. So this year, Kyle Larson has been on a hot streak. He won the Knoxville Nationals. He won the All-Star race. He won the Coca-Cola 600. I believe he's now the leader in the NASCAR Cup Series. What what won't he do this year? I believe, it's going to be interesting to see down the road. Any other dirt races that Kyle Larson competes at, to probably be a contender. So for me, Kyle Larson winning the Knoxville Nationals in front of some World of Outlaw legends like Donny Schatz and the Wild Child, Jack Hodenshield, has to be, for me, my one great shining moment. And we're just about out of time. So Kobe, let's close another good show out.
And I think the cherry on top for Kyle Larson would be closing out the year with a NASCAR Cup Series championship. This has been a crazy year. Kyle Larson winning all of these races, the crown jewel events in dirt racing, and just winning that NASCAR championship. That would certainly close the chapter on such a wonderful year of racing for him. And please be sure to like and subscribe to Grid Network here on YouTube. Also, you can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. We encourage you to visit our Patreon page and invest in Grid Network. Special thank you to Colin, Mark, and D. Show for supporting all of us here. And be sure to check out Paw Bless. Please consider spoiling your furry friend to have dog leashes, clothing, and accessories for dogs of all sizes. 10% of your purchase goes towards helping homeless, sick, and rescued dogs. And a special welcome to Grid Network's second sponsor. Be sure to visit public.com as well. The stock market, social media home, the link below, and referral code gives you $5 to invest immediately. Public.com allows you to connect with your friends. You can make new friends and use tools to learn how to invest in the stock market. Adam and I back on the air Wednesday for a new episode of Grit Tonight. Thursday, Joe and Daniel Zeri from Racers, the Girls Behind the Helmet. A new episode of the Women Racing to Win. Next Saturday, more Grit Live pre-race. And Sunday, Grit Live wrap-up 90 minutes after the NASCAR Cup Series race at Michigan International Speedway. For Josh, Ed, Joe, Ben, and Adam, I'm Kobe. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Don't be an anonymous investor. Join the stock market social media platform, public.com. Invest any amount of money and share with friends and new friends. Discover new opportunities, such as new companies and potential business partners, and useful tools for beginners, and share your experience with friends on public.com. Link in the video description gets you $5 for being a Grid Network viewer. Use the referral code GridNet for your free $5 to invest and start investing and networking on public.com.